welcome to the live show. Starting a few seconds late. I got a bit distracted there. We were having our members only pre-show and we were just chit-chatting about Eurovision. Then time got the better of me, and then I seem to have broken all my graphics, which is always the case whenever you're running things on a test version of software. Luckily, I think I know how to solve it, so I will subtly try to do that while we're still going live here, out of the back of things. Let me see if I can fix that while we chit chat. But today's show, we're going to mostly talk about your questions. If you have any, just let me know in the comments, and just be sure to include @here to record in them so I can see it nice and big here on the screen. What else? We'll talk a little bit about the ATEM ISO sale that's just popped up, and we'll see what else happens as the show goes on. So all that coming up on this live show, minus graphics, it turns out. Again, I'll try and fix that as we go through the show. Alrighty, so let me see if I missed anything before we kick off into the show here. IT never gets old, saying, not fun when your own software crashes. Exactly. Luckily, I am running a beta or an unreleased beta version, so that's why things crash today. But I'll be sure to fix whatever problems I find before we get to that later in the show. Anyway, first things first, if you missed it, I did notice this last week that Blackmagic has put on a flash sale, a date that I'm not sure when it ends yet, but they have put on a sale of the ATEM ISO switchers. If it's something you've been thinking about buying for a while now, and this might be a good time to do that, because the Mini Pro ISO, $100 off, the SDI Pro ISO, more than 100 off, and so on. Surprisingly though, I see that the Television Studio HD8 is on offer, having only been released like a few months ago. So I'm not 100% sure why something like that is in this flash sale section. It seems a bit soon maybe to see a sale on a brand new item. But if you just bought one, it's a bit of a pain for you. I'm sure many people opted for the ISO version instead of the non-ISO version whenever those were released. So sorry to those people who now get to see it on offer for other people. But it is quite a discount for a big switcher like that. Now, is that something you want to use? I know Doug did a really good video recently, and I saw him in the chat there about, are 8 inputs enough? I've done some videos about that switcher and about a lot of the switchers on that list of discount ones. So it's probably a good time to grab a ISO ATEM if that's something you're in the market for. As always though, you might not actually want to purchase the ATEM just because it's on offer. I never recommend really just, going out of your way right now to buy one just because it's on offer. More that if you had one lined up and you were thinking about buying one, then this would be a good time to go down that path and definitely do it. Yeah, so that's ATEM ISO related. I guess if you have any questions on that, you can let me know in the chat. Otherwise, you probably already saw the sale and maybe you've grabbed one, or maybe it's something that you're not thinking about doing. But good to see people in the chat. I never got to show any of these before, so I'm just going to go through them and talk about them myself now. Rob here from the Netherlands, and hello from Toronto, hello from Utah, Doug. Greetings from USA, Shoreview, from IT Never Gets Old. Always nice to see all the familiar faces there. Let me see. Now, this will be fun. If I can solve, while we're chit-chatting here, if I can solve whatever problem I caused, then it will really help me in the show. Okay. It looks like maybe. No, never mind. It's not working. That's fine. I will maybe manage to fix it. Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay, I will fix it in the background while I very successfully vamp here. So what I tend to do whenever I'm running and showing off some new features, which are these are ones that I've been sort of testing with, thinking about adding to H2R Graphics. What I like to do is, you know, live on the wild side and run all of those in a not even beta version, because I want to see how things work and if they work on air. And looks like today that test has failed miserably, but that's okay, because if I can finish this and fix it, then I can actually get to the show and what we were going to cover today. So let me see. I think I've found the actual issue, which is good. Going back to my graphics. This is fun to watch, I'm sure, but I don't really have anything to show while I fix it, so that's why I'm... Okay, cool. I think that solved it. But if it didn't, I will fix it some more. Let me see. Did we have a question that popped up there at any point?
From Lindhaga.
Yes.
Member. I think it's about the ATEM Extreme ISO. Can't BMD do a video ISO recorder? A recorder with 10 SDI with throughput that recorder like the ATEM Extreme ISO do?
Oh, that is a good question. And I fixed my graphics in the meantime. I'll try not to break them anymore as the show goes on. So can Blackmagic do a video ISO recorder, a recorder with 10 SDI throughs? Yeah, that would be quite interesting. Instead of them making an ATEM ISO, they would make an ISO hyperdeck, let's call it, where instead of individual hyperdecks, you might just have a rack of hyperdecks all baked into one device, and then you loop in to each of them and out again. My suspicion is they wouldn't want to go down that path, because they would want you to buy the hyperdecks that they already have. The ATEM 4K8 desktop box does not have an ISO version, because they said that they couldn't get the cooling right on that. So I suspect that, and they built that with loop out so you could go into your own recording devices. So I suspect that they probably want you just to buy a bunch of hyperdecks. And for them, it wouldn't make much sense to build all of that into one thing. It'd be pretty cool though, because then you could... I suppose the ATEM ISO is really what that device is, just for recording all the ISOs. And then you get it all in one drive that you've attached. So it's kind of like the Extreme ISO, as you have said yourself later in the chat. Any more questions?
From Ivar. Doug did a video on making your own SDI cables a while back. Would you do a similar one for the European audience, as I find it hard to find the same or similar products over here?
Another good question. I have kind of stayed away from those kind of videos because I've always seen really good examples of them from people like Doug, and I never thought that I could really do it justice. I did really dig into it deep on a live stream once. I'm just going to post a link to that live stream in the chat here, because I did buy all the pieces at one point from a provider here in Sweden, and then I don't know why I started typing and then started talking. I can't do the both at the same time. Live stream. I just posted that in the chat there, where I grabbed the pieces myself from someone here in a company here in Sweden that sells the crimping tool and the BNC connectors and the cables, and I make all the SDI cables with that. I have a bunch going up over top of my head here, and it's really great to have them. Though if I made that video about that company here in Sweden, it might not actually help you, because I'm not sure if they ship outside of the country, or if they do, it might not make any financial sense to ship out of the country to you. So I'm not sure how helpful it would be. Maybe the same tips would apply from Doug's, but the local provider might be way too local for me, and it wouldn't be of any use to you. But it's something to consider, definitely. Thanks for that. Okay, cool. I think I have H2R Graphics up and running again now, well enough to go through some of the new features that I'm building but not ready to release yet. So this is very much a testing it out, giving you a quick look at how it's going to look, and then maybe you'll have some thoughts on it, or maybe it'll break like it already did today, and then I can fix those. Hopefully I don't have to fix many things while we're live here on the show, but you never know. All right, so coming back to my screen here, I made this little picture-in-picture of myself so I could show the screen nice and big and I wouldn't get in the way of much content. I'll just remove it if I end up getting in the way of anything. Let me reconfigure my other screen here. Good. Okay, we're good. So in the little launcher, I've just made a few things a little bit clearer now, but over on my graphics side, I have some new types of graphics which I am calling utility graphics. I'll just scroll down to the bottom so we can take a look at all the current utility graphics that I've built into this test version. So I have test patterns, which if you've watched the live show before, you will have seen the website that I created recently for these test patterns. In fact, if I go back to that now, here2record.com/test patterns, this is sort of the web version of what I'm about to show, where all of these test patterns and test videos live on the web. Well, I figured it would make sense to have access to these patterns offline as well. So the videos won't be on there because I don't want to make you download a bunch of videos, but the patterns are very low in size. So that's the first thing that I've added on here, and I'm going to add that now. And you'll see in the options here, if I scroll in a bit and make sure I'm not in the way, you have a few options, which are color bars, grid and screen dimensions, and then the EBU 75% option as well. And we can dig into those in a second, because what I wanted to show you before I brought one of these on air is in the Pro version, these are Pro graphics as well, you have up to 4 outputs previously. Well, now I've added this brand new U or utility output. So these utility graphics will by default only show up on that utility output, which you can find in the launcher here. You have a little utility option now. Sorry for all the scrolling. It's just the easiest way to get around the screen here. So that utility option, whenever you open it up, gives you a new output, which is just called the utility output. And for me, the utility ones are very much things that you wouldn't necessarily show on air, but are very useful for productions. So for example, test patterns, you might want to just try those out while you're testing some things, and then you wouldn't show those again. In fact, if I just move my launcher or rundown out of the way and show this test pattern here, you'll see that I have this little output with a test pattern on it, or I can change that to be the grid and screen dimensions one. So it just shows like the time of day and the pixel dimensions of the screen here. You can just see them there. And as you resize it, it updates the dimensions of the little window. And then finally, we have the EBU 75%, which is using the colors that were on Wikipedia for what the color bars should look like based on those specifications. Or the classic, well, not classic, the H2R color bars, where I've just stolen some colors from applications that I'm using. These are like the colors I use, like the H2R or orange. I have the purple from one of my other applications, Stingers. This one is from H2R Gear, I believe. And then this one here, the green one, I've forgotten what I used that on. I'll ignore that for now. And then there's 2 more current utility graphics. One of them is time of day, and the other one is large text. So I'll just show the time of day one. I think you can imagine what's going to happen on the time of day one is it shows the time of day. And it will just keep counting and updating with the time of day. I've also added this little feature coming to the next version as well, which is in time of day graphics and in this time of day utility graphic as well, which is called time zone offset. And if I were to increase or decrease that, what it'll do is add and subtract numbers or hours from that graphic there. So here I'm doing a -10 time zone offset onto this graphic. So now it's updating with a -10. Something people have been asking for whenever they're working with international clients is that they don't want to use their current time, but they want to use the client's time, and you can just, plus 2 hours, for example, to update and use the client's clock instead. Okay, the last utility graphic for now is this large text graphic. And as you can imagine, that just shows some large text. So I can write anything I want in there. This could be perfect for showing to a speaker. Maybe it could be on a monitor within their eye line, and you want to say, wrap up now. Could be pretty handy to do that. Or you can use it on as the output of this computer here. I could just set this up and call this, my GFX laptop, show that full screen on my output, and then I know whenever I look at my multi-view that it's my GFX laptop is going to fill that spot. So just a handy way to write some sort of big label. Again, the graphics here, as you can see, are not themable. This theme section cannot be clicked. I'm trying to click it here, but it can't be clicked. And it's just a way of showing this information without having to worry about themes and positioning and triggers and all that stuff. The utility graphics act a little bit differently from the other graphics. But of course, you could show it on output 1. If I show that on output 1, you can see there it takes over my whole screen, because now I'm showing that on my main output of the graphics, which is what I'm showing these graphics on this production with. But if I just want to show it on my utility, it will show on utility output, which is the default output for these types of graphics. I have lots more ideas for graphics like this that I have not shown off just yet. Can I press both these buttons at the same time? Yeah, that worked. Yeah, I have a bunch more little utility style ideas where I don't worry about what the graphic looks like, more what to show on the screen. And I'm quite keen on hearing if you have any ideas for utility-based graphics that you would like to see on there. I can add it to my list of ones to consider and add for sure. Okay, any questions popping up while I'm chit-chatting here?
We have a question from IT and Media Solution, and I'm gonna try to say in a different way because it's a little bit all over the place. So if I'm misunderstanding your question, then please send one more in a different way, maybe. Okay?
Go for it.
Yeah. So this person are wondering why they can't put custom graphics like images and animated videos in low third, and they can only type in that one.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know what you mean. So a lot of people have asked for this very thing where they want full customization over a graphic. They want to be able to do like a Photoshop style interface where they can jump in, decide that a box of this size lives on this part of the screen with a font of this size, and then I want a video, animated video playing to the left of that, and maybe I want a completely different text over here as like the title of the person and the job description or whatever. And it's very much come down to the direction that the application has taken. The application that I wanted to make, H2R Graphics, is something that you can download and show a graphic as fast as possible. And in order to hit that requirement that I've set for myself, I wanted to make as much of the decisions and layout and styling be as restrictive in a way as possible. That way you can just jump in there, start typing, show a lower third, start typing, and you have a lower third ready to go. And I know a lot of people use it for that, where they just want a timer on screen, and there's about 5 minutes before the production starts, they just want to show some sort of countdown timer on their production, on their live stream. And I find the easiest way to do that is to just give people a text box and let them type into it. Maybe the next time they run the show, they might go in and change the color from orange to purple and make some customizations. Or if you want, which you can do in H2R Graphics. In fact, let me just jump into the app a little bit here. If you want to, you can go in to a graphic and completely customize it with CSS. So this lower third here is using the default theme that I have included, but I could go in and change that theme to some other completely different theme that I want to mess with. So like this gray one here, you know, in the theme options you can customize all of the background colors, but you can also go down to CSS here, and then I can be even more custom. So I can say the large text of this graphic should be red in color. I'm of course running a different graphic here, so it's not working, but you can jump into CSS and really make it look the way you want it to look. So customization is possible, but it does mean that you have to learn a slightly different way of styling things, which is via CSS. Let me get rid of that graphic. Goodbye. So to answer your question, it really was a application design decision to get people in and using it as fast as possible. If you want to go custom, fully custom with a tool or a way of building graphics that you're familiar with before, you can of course jump into Photoshop, save a PNG, and use H2R Graphics to show that PNG. And I have even experimented a little bit with my notion of a completely, custom builder for building your own custom graphics in the app, but it just turns into this real design challenge, which is trying to build a Photoshop-like experience into another application becomes very difficult, and there's a lot of design decisions to make just to build a builder for graphics, and I haven't yet found a good way to do that. If there's a way of using other tools to pull in graphics customized to the way you want them, then I can explore that definitely. And there, of course, are other graphics tools out there that let you be much more custom, and maybe you should head down that path instead of using H2R Graphics. But if you're looking for a quick way to get some stuff in there, then that's the way I built the tool, and that's the way it makes sense for me to keep building it, I think. I hope that sort of answers your question. Okay, more questions.
From another IT, but never gets old, wonders, would it be useful to have a utility graphic that had user-defined pre-canned messages on buttons that you can click as cues for a presenter, for instance?
Would it be useful to have a utility graphic that has user-defined pre-canned messages? Yes, certainly. It could be. I would consider that what I just showed a little bit there, which was the, let me see, this one. Yeah, I would consider this message graphic, this large text, utility graphic to be the perfect way to do that. At this point, I don't have direct companion control of this because I haven't actually released this yet to anybody. But you could update this text using a companion button. In fact, in the variable section here, I could use the text1 variable to update this graphic. I actually don't know if I've set this up. No, I haven't yet. So you could, in theory, set up text1 to be a variable text, and you set that text1 via companion, and then it updates within the app here. So that could certainly be a use case for the large text utility graphic, or perhaps you have another idea of something that's slightly different from what I've shown here that you would prefer to see. But again, I don't think this necessarily would be something that you would show on air. More of an idea for off-air filling screens in rooms, or during testing and things like that. You like the companion idea? Yeah, that would be the way I would recommend doing it, definitely, by a companion. Okay, I'm going to dig into another new feature that's coming in the next version, if I don't break that as well. This is the thing that's broken at the start of the show, so I'm hoping it does not let me down. Let me open up one of my outputs here and see if it works. Like I said, this is all testing. I'm running a non-release test version of the app, so these things happen, and it's always fun to try and overcome them, especially while you're talking at the same time. So one of the things I've wanted to create for a while now is the ability to update the contents of a graphic from another graphic. So for example, you might have a lower third like this one. And let me just change that back to the normal theme that I use. I might have that lower third down there, and I might have the John Barker. Oh, can I spell my own name? From here to record. But I want to use that same data somewhere else in my application. For example, in a message graphic, maybe I want that quite big, and I want to say the same content that's in this. Well, I've just added this new feature. So if I've just added it to the test version here, so I can test it out a little bit. So now I have this message graphic, which is now covering up my face. I will position that center. Oh, actually, I'll position that top and scale it up a bit. And I want that to be filled with the contents of the graphic at the bottom here, right? So in H2R Graphics in the rundown, you can actually right-click graphics, which gives you a little context menu here, and that's where you can edit them or duplicate them. But I've added this new variables option, and what this will do is not copy the text, but copy a link to the text as a variable. So if I copy the first line variable here, and I go and edit my message, which is already open up here, where you at, content, and I paste this in, what I'm pasting in here is a reference to the other graphic. So I'm saying that on this graphic, which has an ID, that's why I'm copy pasting it, not writing it myself, I want to get the line 1 text from that. And what you'll notice there in the screen, if I point in the right direction, over there, the message graphic that is at the top is now saying John Barker, which is the same text as at the bottom on the lower third. And in fact, if I was to update this to something else, hello, you can see the text on the top message graphic gets updated at the same time as the bottom. This is something I'm slowly going to roll out to other graphics. It's only set up right now for a couple of types of graphics, like the message graphic there and the lower third. I'm interested to see if it's useful in other graphics too, like for example, in the score graphic, you might want to hold all the information of the teams and their current score in the main score graphic. But I always thought it would be cool if you could pull out the actual result of the team, like their 7 points up, or the name of the team, and put that in a different graphic. And you don't have to write the same information in several places, but you can just update it in one graphic and then it gets updated in the other ones. Something I'm excited to release soon enough. But as usual, or as said before, these are very much in the testing phase right now. I'm going to, in the next day or two, release what you've seen so far today to the beta testers. And you can always be a beta tester if you want to be. It's all handled through the Discord, and you can find a link to the Discord channel below this video. Just send me a message through that and say you want to be in the test H2R Graphics Discord, and I can get you in there, and you can try things out. I really appreciate all the help people have given me in there. I really need it, because that's how we fix problems like today's problem for sure. These are the kind of little weird graphic issues that get solved before things go out to the world. One last little graphic coming out soon, and then one last question, and then we'll be done for the day. I have this feature also coming soon. I noticed that a few weeks ago when I did an NAB wrap-up stream, adding a lot of different images into H2R Graphics was becoming a real piece of work. You add an image, and then you add an image graphic, and then it became a whole thing. So I'm adding this feature soon where if you grab an image from like your desktop or whatever, in fact, if you add multiple images, you can just click and drag and drop them into H2R Graphics, and they will make a graphic based on that image. And then when you want, you can just show that graphic within your production. So it's already linked the image to the graphic. I actually don't know what these screenshots are, so I will not show those at this very moment. I take a lot of, oh wait, here's one I can definitely show. This is the store screenshot. So if I click and drag and throw that in here, you can see it made a graphic. And if I show that, you can see the graphic comes up on the screen. A super easy way to just get images into your production and then start using them within seconds. I will admit, before I set this up, this was a real piece of work to get a image graphic on air quickly. For example, taking a screenshot of something and quickly wanting to show that in H2R Graphics. So now you'll be able to just drag and drop into graphics tool. All right, last questions before we wrap things up.
How many questions do you want to be? Because we just got 2 more questions.
Oh, let me just cancel that.
Okay, let's start with one.
Why not?
Okay. Do you have the option to grab data from Google Spreadsheet or external data?
Currently, no. You can set up a little piece of software yourself and do that, or you can listen to the Google Sheet and then send it into the API of H2R Graphics, but I don't currently have those supported. Been thinking about it a lot though. I've been thinking about where that fits in, but I haven't quite done it just yet.
Next one. Will the graphic be available in the Media tab?
Yes, it will. It auto adds the graphic to the Media tab, and it basically just does what you would have done yourself, which is went to the Media tab, added the graphic, and then went back to the rundown and added an image graphic and then linked the two together. That's sort of the manual flow. The automated flow will be that you drop the image on the rundown, and behind the scenes it goes and adds it to the Media tab, creates a graphic image, and then links the two together. So it's all the same, it just happens automatically. Any more?
Yes, let's do this one. Do those drag and drops graphic end up in the media pool?
They do.
Maybe
Absolutely.
you just said that.
I did.
Yeah.
Good to double check.
Okay. Next one. This might be one that you have to get back to the person.
Okay.
But still struggling a bit on using Companion with H2R Graphics. Docs are great, but a little too complicated. Saw a Companion profile, but still not complete. Any news on that front?
Yeah, I think the docs probably could do with an update. Because when I made the docs, there was no module for Companion. Yes, exactly. So if I just go back to this, here's the docs for Companion. You're right. Whenever I made these docs, there was no H2R Graphics module, but there is now. And I should really update these with that in mind. So you don't really have to do this anymore. Now you can just go into Companion and look for the H2R Graphics module. And in there, all you need to do is add the needed details. But like Sandy just said, you can just send me an email about this if you try that and it doesn't work out for you, because it's probably easier for us to just go back and forth and make sure you have all the stuff set up right. So skip the docs, don't read the docs, and instead look for the H2R Graphics module. In there, you can get things running as you'd expect them to. Cool. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for sticking with me as I solved technical issues. Thanks to Sandy for reading the questions. I forgot to mute your mic, so I'll do that now. Thanks. And I will see you all in the members only post show if you want to hang around and chat some more. We do that after the live show and before it. So just become a member of the channel and we can chit chat some more about all this fun stuff. Okay, just need the end graphics and final thanks for being here. And thanks, of course, to all the supreme supporters of the channel. Off Air with Jezza, Revolution Lightboards, Marlon, and Cloud Bedrock as well. And thanks to all you for your chatting. I'll see you next week on the live show. Bring your questions and I'll hopefully have answers for them. Until then, bye.